Starting a new campaign sounds epic until it turns into chaos. Don't worry, we have a plan for you so that your next campaign doesn't implode before session 0. Welcome to episode 5, and we're going to be talking about how to start your next campaign. I'm Javier.
I'm Pedro.
And this is Behind the Chaos. So Pedro, today we're going to be talking about how, why, and some of the things you need to consider to start a brand new campaign.
Yep.
I think we all know that can be a little bit chaotic or confusing at times, right?
Yes, especially for new players.
Yeah. So I guess from our experience, why would you start a new campaign? I think there's a bunch of different methods and stuff, but I want to hear your opinions first.
So, yeah, in my opinion, I think the main point of starting a new campaign is to hang out with the people that you manage to put together and that willing to commit their time into having fun, having an adventure, role playing, and mainly having fun.
Yeah,
I think that'll be my main reason. No, just to hang out with others. I don't know. What's your take on that? What do you think is the reason?
Yeah, I think starting a new campaign can definitely be challenging, but worth it, right? I think, like you said, the main point should be kind of starting something social, something to, be with your friends, go out and have something planned, right? I think it's just sometimes it can also be because maybe an old campaign died out. Maybe you're starting to play again, right? After a certain amount of years.
Yes.
Maybe you want to try a different game, right? Like, so again, we focus mainly on D&D, but there's so many new things that are kind of going around, right? From Shiver to Daggerheart or many other like TTRPG games. So I think like one of the main reasons can also be just changing systems. We have our friend Vitor who made his own codex, right? And we played that, and we kind of started that one for a little bit because we just kind of wanted to try out different stuff, right? So I think that might be some of the reasons why sometimes you start new things, right?
Yes. Yeah. Sure. I guess since you already have the reason and you have the people, what do you need to start? What the base, the bare minimum to start a new campaign?
I don't know.
I'll ask you from the point. I'm asking you from the point of view of a DM.
Oh, of the DM. Yeah. Well, I think first we got to tackle the real kind of two issues, right? Or the first issue, which is finding a group, right? Usually the group tries to find a DM because the DM is kind of the lesser resource. You find a lot less of them wanting to DM. But if you guys kind of want to see a full breakdown of that, we discussed it in episode 3 and 4 of how to find your people and how to start kind of going into finding your group, and then also kind of how to build the characters and stuff like that. So those 2 videos will kind of say what and how to kind of get the gears rolling. But
yeah, so those 2 videos will get you to a point. Now, let's say you got
your peeps, you got your party,
the friends, you have the party set up. Well, not set up, but who are willing to play, and you have a DM. So somebody is willing to sacrifice to be the DM. Now, what do you need from that?
So what do you need from that? So then I think what you need to decide is what kind of game you're playing. Okay. Right?
Meaning?
So the very first step is deciding what system. Right? Are you playing D&D? Are you playing Daggerheart? Are you playing any other type of TTRPG?
Okay.
Right? That fits your group, right? There are TTRPGs that are designed for 2 people. There are others designed for multiple people, like D&D, right? So I think first and foremost, pick your poison. Pick what you want to play. I think after that, we need to, let's assume we're going with D&D, since this podcast is mainly about D&D. I think then you need to pick, okay, what kind of commitment you have, right, from your group, and then how does that translate, right? So what it means to me is, well, am I running a one shot and then just kind of, having a fun afternoon or night with my friends and just kind of running that? Or are we running a full campaign that requires more of a time commitment, requires more of an investment from the players and the DM, right?
So I guess let's say just for the sake of argument that this group is willing to commit. They are willing to put in once a week.
Impossible.
Once a week meeting.
Impossible.
Okay, let's say they are willing to do that.
And they're also going to bring snacks and be on time. Yeah.
In the beginning, that's the initial commitment is to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't know if that's going to happen, but that's the commitment. And then, okay, let's make it happen.
Yeah.
You mentioned snacks. I guess that's very important.
Bring snacks, people.
So, apart from that, let's call it technically wise. What a DM needs.
Yeah. So
you have the system. It's D&D. We play D&D.
Yeah.
What do you need?
Yeah. Now people are committed. Yeah, 100%. Right. If people are committed, then you need to look into, okay, what kind of story do you want to run, right? And that could be one of two methods, right? A lot of the times, depending on the player's expertise and all that stuff, it could be more of like the DM taking charge and saying, hey, we're running this story, right? And this is the genre. Because again, you don't want to give it away, right? You're not going to say like, "Oh, we're gonna run a."
When you say genre, what do you mean?
So like the setting and the kind of like highlight of the plot, right? So again, for example, I'm going to take two very core D&D stories, right, and compare them to see how different they are, right? You can run something like Phandalin or I Spire Speak, which are very kind of intro level. They're more of like The Hobbit, comparing it to a movie, right? They're more like The Hobbit, where like, oh, you go around and you go adventuring and then things happen, right? And it's pretty much all kind of fantasy and a little bit political, right? So then that's kind of like the general plot. Then you go into like, for example, oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank on the name, but it's the horror one.
One.
Yeah, the it's not Masquerade Queen.
Editor, please add the name on the screen.
Yes. Where you're dealing with vampires, werewolves. So that setting is much more of like a creepy setting: zombies, vampires, werewolves, spawns. All that kind of stuff, right? So then you're dealing much more with a more graphic campaign. It goes from like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it goes from like level 1 to like level 15. So it's a longer campaign.
I don't have the knowledge to correct you there.
Yeah.
So, but I thought that, I guess from my limited experience, you was able to adapt the story to whatever level you have, no?
Yeah, as a DM, yeah, you can. You're basically what's going to happen is the encounters, right? You're going to have to adapt the encounters to your number of players and your
the level they are,
the level of the players in the party, right?
Got it.
So that'll be up to the DM. But some of these things that are already written have like suggestions to kind of go on, right? Which is so different from, for example, if you're running a homebrew. Right, a homebrew campaign can be anything and everything, right?
So homebrew. What is a homebrew?
So homebrew campaign is like
people that don't know.
Yeah.
Like, many people don't know what that is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So homebrew is in the name, right? So it's something that you brew at home. In this case, is brewing stories, and they like you can go anywhere with homebrews, right? So you can go as specific as you would like. You can go from like making your own items to making your own classes to making your own monsters. Everything is up to your DM's creativity and disposal.
So then, is that, I guess we're going on a little tangent here, but it's part of the starting a new campaign. So if I have a homebrew, is that a system or is just like a framework of a story where then I build the adventures around?
It's a framework.
It's
Yeah,
not,
so you're
it's
still in the
basically-
D&D system.
I use the DMD system of but
Like
dice
mechanics,
rolling,
yeah.
all the mechanics.
Yep.
It's just the story and the setting that is different.
Yeah.
So
So
based on the creators, whatever he wanted to do, right?
So
Okay.
yeah, that's kind of the point, right? So like again, a lot of people use, for example, the D&D system for like running more sci-fi related stuff, right? So then a homebrew would be perfect for that, because then you just grab that and then go and say like, okay, now we're like in planet X, and you have starships that have these qualities and things, right? So
But
I
you,
mean,
you still use the DMD
yeah.
mechanics in the background to actually, for the actions, for the timing.
Yeah, or you develop also new mechanics based on the base of D&D, right? So for example, again, I'm an all-time like One Piece fan. That I have in my back pocket, which is something I really want to run. It's a One Piece campaign.
I've seen One Piece D&D campaign
crossovers. Yeah.
One time I saw one on YouTube.
Nice.
Yeah, when I was into D&D,
into One Piece.
But I see what you mean now. Okay.
So yeah, so like that to me is great. Like again, you create a lot more. It's a lot more taxing on the DM. I think, regularly speaking, more experienced DMs try to tackle that.
Okay.
Me personally, I'm a very fan of the modules. I love running modules.
What is that?
So the campaigns that are from D&D specifically.
Oh, official.
Yeah, like official
stories.
books. Yeah.
Okay.
So again, like Dragons of Icespire Peak, or Phandalin, or Horde of the Queen, or something like that. I gotta get better on my names, guys.
We need a car for when I'm about to ask a rude question. Isn't that being a little lazy? We're just going through the D&D.
You know what's lazy? Lazy is players who don't even give a backstory. That's what's lazy.
Yeah, but we discussed that in last episode.
Okay.
We are in a different episode. Okay, no, that was just.
I don't know. I don't think it's particularly lazy. I just think that it's much more. It's less creative in the sense of making a bigger plot, right? Like if you're running a one shot and it's a homebrew, it's perfect. Because again, you can run like I don't know, like a sheep one shot, like where you're all sheep and you can only say ba for the rest of the game. I don't know.
Okay, let's sure.
But what I'm saying is, you don't need to create a campaign that's 30 pages long that lasts 2 years, and then somehow make that interesting throughout the entirety of that campaign, right? Yeah. So that can be very, very challenging.
Yes. So I guess to contradict my own or go against my own question is, I think the official material, since they give you recommendations of levels and everything else, is easier to manage for new players, I guess, being a DM and having new players in the party.
Oh yeah,
because everything is in a more I guess like a standard setting or control environment.
Yeah.
So you can limit their actions and guide them through like a predefined story, right?
Yeah. So you don't have
that's okay for if you have about like 5 people,
but
2, 3 are noobs, and then 2 are experienced, so you can
and we can match, right? We can also get into that, right? Like your player experience level is gonna impact a lot into like what you can and cannot do, because we got to remember these stories are designed for long-term storytelling, right? So just like a good book, right? When you're reading your book, you have like plot hooks along the chapters that you're reading that keep you engaged, right? And when you're homebrewing, I think for me specifically, that's one of the most challenging things, right? To keep the plot hooks for you guys to be entertained, so that you can keep playing and keep coming week to week, right?
Got it. Yeah.
I feel like when you're homebrewing, a big part of it is plot holes, right? Where like you don't remember something that, a specific character said, or maybe, one time you came into the session and you had, your plan, and then after you're like, oh, I just thought of something cool, so I'm going to put it in, right? And then it doesn't make any sense, a year later.
Else,
yeah. So then, sometimes that can kind of get in your way, right?
Yeah, I guess, the official material is being curated by,
yeah, it's been tested.
Know what they're doing. So it is
it can
tested. And
it can also get kind of repetitive, right? Like when you're running, like, let's say you run 3 or 4 modules, it can get repetitive, right? It's from the same framework, from the same mind frame, right?
So it's basically the same plot baseline with different settings. Does it remind you of something?
One Piece?
They said it!
Damn.
So, okay, I guess just to move on, I mean, on the same question, right? What do you need? I guess I'll say, from the player's perspective, a character dies. That's it. That's what you need, right?
No. I think from a player's
perspective, snacks. That's what you need.
Yeah, from a player's perspective, you need, there's some of the social aspects of it, which is, again, commitment, right? You got to you got to do your homework, right?
What?
Yeah, there's homework.
But that's what we deal with that in the previous episode. We already did the character, so I have my character, my story. Let's say I did it okay, so I have my character set up. To start playing, I just need
to show up. Yeah.
Show up, snacks, and a dice set.
Yeah.
Pretty much. That's the bare minimum, right?
Yeah.
And not even dice, yes. Physical dice, let's say.
If you're playing,
nobody likes the digital ones. But yeah, that's it, right?
Yeah.
And then you build up from there if you want to a little setup, you dice tower, this and that,
a
few more items.
Yeah,
you add to your
repertoire.
Yeah, exactly. or your tools and whatever. So I guess from the player side is easier.
Yeah. Well, I think from the player side, you just have to come with what you would like from the experience.
Okay.
Right.
To that, let's say we already decided that we are running, so we know what is a one shot. Have you ever had? Let's say you have a new group and you say, okay, let me run a one shot just to get everybody familiar with the mechanics that we're going to run.
Yeah.
It's a one shot, so nobody gets to, if they die, it doesn't matter because I can bring them back in the main story or whatever. Yeah. It's just a one shot to get them a little fired up. Have you done that? Is it recommended, or I guess you just go through session 0, our next episode?
Yes.
And start with the main campaign. What do you think?
I've never done a teaser, which I think would be cool. Because like what you're describing sounds a lot like doing a teaser of like, oh, like let's run a one shot that will then somehow tie into your next story. I think that would be cool. I've never done that, but I have run a one shot with people that then become interested to run a full campaign, right? And I think like that's the beautiful thing about one shots, that it's like, I think eventually people get hyped to basically start a full grown campaign. But I do feel like a lot of new players start with a one shot, either at a local pub or with like a program or a couple of friends, or even, sometimes they just dive right into it and then, they go like, I'm going to DM my first campaign and it's going to be a one shot, right?
Okay. And what do you think if the one shot is to weed out some of the people that don't have because you also need the table to be like the same
cohesive
frequency. Yeah. Like, and then you do the one shot, and then you see, oh, this guy, it's not a good match for the general vibe of the thing, so he doesn't get invited to the next session.
That's a hot take. Holy shit!
But I think it's better to do it before the campaign, because
I mean, I don't know, man. I never seen this as like dating. This isn't a first date. Like, I do get. You know what? I do understand that. Some people will have different starting points, right? And some people don't fit certain tables. I'm not saying that there's not a table for everyone out there. There certainly
It's,
is.
not this table.
Just not here.
Yeah.
No, but it just depends. Like I think we've all been in that situation where maybe when we're playing with strangers or whatnot, you know, some people like, for example, graphic horror, right? And they like to be like super descriptive when that happens, right? So then like if you're a DM, right, and you're running with a group of people that say, like that, and then here comes this other person who is like, oh, like, I'm just here for the lulz, right? And then it's like out of nowhere, it's like, oh, like, this guy slashes your belly open and then takes out your intestines and chops them into sausages. Yeah, chops them into sausages and then like slurps like your throat juices, like like it's a little bit.
Yeah, I think
I don't.
the
one of these things don't fit.
Yes, but also let's say you don't kick these people out. You just set their
Set the boundaries, yeah.
expectations. Right? Like okay, you can slash the belly, but maybe don't go further.
Yeah.
And because the table did that, so you give some pointers just so the people can adjust and keep on playing, right? Because everything is in the end, I guess, is for fun, mainly, and you don't want people to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So, but you want people to flow.
Yeah, so I think
flow, but a little less.
I think there's two things to the question that you brought, right? The first one is okay, uncomfortableness, compatibility of just like the story and how everything's being ran, right? Which again, session 0 is phenomenal for that, and that's going to be our next episode. So make sure to tune in for our next episode, where we're going to deep dive more into session 0. What can you do for session 0, and some ideas to keep the tables kind of in the same frequency, right? Mm-hmm. And then the second thing is compatibility as a whole, right? Like there are players who are story hogs. There are players who are, like don't really invest the time that they should be investing back into the story, right? So sometimes you have people who come in and, everyone's like aligned. Everyone's like, yeah, like I already know what I'm going to be for level 3 and you're just level 1. And you have like those people that are like, yeah, I mapped out my whole entire thing. And then you have the one who's like, wait, what does this do again? And like, is it my turn? And then they're like on their phone on the table, right? Yeah. And no one really likes when that happens a lot because like, okay, if it happens once or twice during a session or whatnot, that's fine. Yeah. But it drags everybody else down. So I think like that is more where I get into the compatibility of it, and maybe like what you said of like, okay, let's run a one shot to see if everyone here is compatible. But in general, most people who are being committed to it,
they try to align.
They try to align, and right, like again, like you're always going to deal with a little bit of stardom issues, right? Like everyone wants to be the hero, everyone wants to be, save the princess. Everyone wants to be rich for some reason in this fake game.
Yeah. In life,
but yeah, like I think like you later understand that it's like everyone gets a turn, right? So I think like that's part of the importance of it, and that's where player experience comes a long way, right? So I think that for player experience wise, it really matters if you're an experienced DM dealing with all new group, if you're an experienced DM dealing with a mix and match. And then if you're like a noob DM dealing with like an experienced set of players, that can also be super challenging because the expectations are like all the way over here, and then you're just there with like, your story kind of like, like
barely remember anything.
Barely remember anything. Your improvisation skills are maybe not up to speed. So like, that can be very challenging too, right? What did you think when because I think like you had a mix, I believe, and then I think you just basically had a mix, but then there were players who didn't really play a lot. So I don't know, like what's your take on that?
On what?
On just the experience level. Or you also had multiple DMs with different experiences and different styles.
I think
what's your take in general with like new campaigns and how you digested them as a new player?
the mix of player, I think is useful. If I think in general having a mix is okay, and it is very helpful for the new ones, the new player, especially for the new players, because then when you're playing, you can
Mimic, shadow.
see how the experienced players do their actions and go about their role playing, and also off game you can ask them for ideas.
You didn't do that.
Well, you can do it. I did it. I'm just saying, you can reach out to them to ask for pointers, just to see what they think.
Yeah.
The mix, right? I think having a bunch of new players is more taxing on the DM as well, because then the DM will have to explain a little more and probably limit a little. Basically, he would be saying a little more no's, because the new players just tend to ask for whatever, and not always they are in the right. Yeah. So the DM needs to keep the table in check.
Yeah.
I
think a lot of the time it goes both ways. Either they're super quiet and don't know what to do, or they're just going like, okay, let's just attack.
So that can also happen. Yes. Yeah. If the table is a little, they don't have the confidence yet. So all new players, they don't know what to do. Who needs to take the initiative? They are just
waiting for everybody,
for
someone
the DM to prompt them to do something. So that might be a little disengaging, I guess, from the whole
at the beginning,
setting. And I guess the best scenario is to have an experienced DM with experienced players, because then everybody's expectations are level.
Yeah.
And match, so the table, I think, flows like much better.
Yeah.
And especially if the group is not that big, because like the one time that I went and there were like 8 people on the table, like many experienced people, but I guess there were just too many people.
Yeah, it was too much chaos.
The table was a little like disorganized, and people talking and this and that. So
it was hard. It was hard to keep everyone like engaged, in liberty of doing their own thing, but then also like, again, it's one DM, a lot of players, right? So then a lot of the times it was like, okay, you guys are playing dice or whatever, or seducing this person in the bar, blah blah blah, and then you two are shopping for magical items, and then you other two are doing this and that.
Yeah, right? But everybody needs to wait for
and then now they're talking and
yeah. So I think like a fairly small group and experienced players and experienced DM, like that should be amazing.
Yeah,
the flow and the actions and everything. Like I think it would be like the DM games that you see produced in YouTube.
Oh yeah, like Critical Role and all these guys.
Yeah, like everything
almost
is
D&D.
Everything is flowing. They know their stuff. The DM is in control. But everybody knows when to action, when to engage, when to keep quiet.
Yeah.
Like that's a full
production. I think that's something very, very on point, right? Like you grow with the game, right? Like just because you're new doesn't mean that you can't play
for long enough.
If you invest your time into it, right? Because like I think like a lot of people think like, oh, like I'm gonna be at a table with all these people and they're doing their accents and they're doing their voices and they got their character, and some of them go dressed up to the session and like in cosplay and stuff, and that can sometimes be very intimidating. But my advice to you guys is don't be. We all start awkwardly at the side of the table with just our dice and asking the person next to us like, can I say this, or can I do this, or is it my turn to roll or whatever, right? So I think like
what dice do I need to roll?
Yeah, which one's that one again? Which is why like I think it's important that progression, just like in a video game, is very important, right? Like you will get better at the game overall, and even as a DM, you will get better as a DM. Each session that goes, you'll learn what your players like, and then that will make your campaign all the much more like fruitful towards the end, right? Yeah. So I think like that's something that we need to really make sure that we all start somewhere, and that's a given. So like when you're surrounded by experienced players, it can be very, very good because again, you start kind of mimicking and you start kind of learning. So then, then you get the confidence to say like, okay, I'm going to try this accent next time. Or I didn't know that ability worked that way, right? So then now I'm going to kind of think of a different strategy.
Yes.
But I think in general, like starting a campaign can trickle down into a couple different things, right? So a little bit of an overview of what we've seen today, right? What we talked about today is picking your system, number one, right? Yep. Then going into picking out what story you want to do, right? Do you want to do a homebrew? Do you want to do a campaign? And they have campaigns for one shots and for like full out campaigns, right? So like you can get
one shot within the setting of a campaign.
Yes and no.
Like a filler episode.
Yeah, yes and no. So there's this one that I really, really like. It's called Candlekeep Mysteries. And it's basically you're at a library, and then at the library you get to pick a book, and each book is a one shot, right? So then like there's a whole system of how the library works or whatever. So it's like within that thing, but like it's almost like opening a book, and then let's say like you open Moby Dick, right? And you're like, oh, okay, and then you go in, you get to adventure Moby Dick, and then usually in a one shot manner, and then you close the book, and then you open another one and say Harry Potter, and then you go and do Harry Potter, and then, so it's really cool. I really like that, and it's within one setting. And the setting does it beautifully on how to like link all those things together, which was great.
Nice.
But then you have like there's this book, I think it's called 1,000 One-Shot Adventures. It's relatively very popular in the industry, and they basically put 1,000 one-shots into a book,
like a short story book.
Yeah. It's actually really cool. And then you can just pick whichever one you want and run it, right? That one's not within a setting, but regardless, you can just kind of pick the one that you want today, and then kind of roll with it, right? Yeah. So yeah, we went into picking a one shot or a campaign, source material or homebrew, and then how to kind of go about it, right? So like what you need, again, we reviewed some of those stuff in our last episodes, and then basically a willingness to play, a DM, a couple of players, some snacks, and a few drinks, right? Like a few drinks, everyone, and then your dice and materials, which you can get obviously at chaoticstudios.ca. But yeah, I think with that, we mentioned session 0 a couple of times. So again, make sure to stay tuned. We're going to do an episode in our next release for just that. So we're going to talk about session 0 and some of the things to watch out for both as a player and as a DM, right? It can get kind of managing expectations, just like managing, people or a team or a project or whatever, can get a little bit hairy sometimes if you don't have a good framework. Do you have anything that you want to kind of recap or
I think
say to the group?
For starting new campaign, I think we went through a very general idea of how that goes and what to look for and what to expect from others as well. In general, it's challenging but not that hard from the player's perspective. I think we did okay.
Hopefully you guys came out with a little bit more knowledge as to how to pick your next campaign. We are here if you guys have any questions or anything of the sort. If you really like the material that we're releasing and you just have a little bit more of a question, feel free to reach out to us via comments, email, Instagram, wherever you want, wherever you can find us. And we would love to talk about, those questions with you, and also kind of bring them forward to the podcast and YouTube channel, because that's how we're going to keep growing. And if after all this, you cannot decide as to what campaign to run, Chaotic Studios also just released a one-shot, which is duck themed. It's called Duck Duck Doom. It's very fun. It's very lighthearted. And all you guys need to do is pick up the book. It's a digital download. And it's very easy to read. My nephew, that's 13 now, ran it with his friends. And they loved it. It was his first go at being a DM. So definitely good for either a very, very fun, silly adventure with some adults or with your kids. So thanks so much. This has been Behind the Chaos, and see you guys next time.
See ya.